When people hear about the trafficking and the cult torture that I survived at the hands of my family and other abusers, one of the most frequent questions asked is, were my abusers arrested? Was there justice? Did they go to prison? And it's not as easy as people think. First, the legal system is set up for perpetrators, not victims, and it is incredibly re-traumatizing. Also, think about how many people don't even want to believe child sexual abuse or sexual assault, even of a grown woman's sexual assault or of a man, and then think about what happens in trafficking and cult torture, how extreme it is and how organized it is. Also, many of our abusers were part of law enforcement, of Children's Aid Society or Children's Protective Services, doctors, nurses. They helped hide the evidence, and they also would keep them from being investigations or cover things up if there were investigations. Our abusers are incredibly good at masking socially, and they have really good jobs. They dress well, they speak well, they're well educated. Some of them have positions of power in society, and people often don't believe children and teens and even adult survivors when we speak out. And because the abuse is so well organized and so extreme, it's even harder for people to believe and to hear. We need systemic change to protect survivors. Also, I was living with my abusers. I was living with my parents who tortured me, who SA'd me every day and night, who killed kids in front of me and told me that they would also kill me if I spoke. And they used mind control to keep me from speaking. They intentionally created splits inside me from really early on, from baby on, dissociative identity with cult-trained jobs to keep me silent, to keep me from talking, to keep me from believing what was happening. It's so organized, and it can take so long for survivors to get safe. I know survivors who got safe sooner than I did, but for me, again, it was most of my life, and that took me running away so many times. It took me having to remember who abused me and who wasn't safe, because when we're being trafficked and tortured on that level, we dissociate from it. We forget it, and we shove the trauma and the memories down. So we forget it, like right after it happened. It's survival, especially with dissociative identity. It's survival, and we could not have survived otherwise. There's so many things that prevent survivors from getting justice, and I don't even hope for that. I just hoped for safety, and it still took most of my life. And safety for me was my priority, and I think it should also be the priority for other survivors. Like, we have to get safe before we can do anything. And when we speak out, if we're still being tortured and accessed, even if we don't remember it, if we're still being tortured and accessed, they increase the torture, which is what they did for me, because I spoke out in so many ways, including like survivor newsletters and talking to other survivors, and then over time educating other people. While I was still being tortured, I got increased torture for that, and increased threats, and increased mind control, and it all contributes to silencing the survivor, or at least that's the intention. And it is so hard just to get through. And then look at all the effects of the trauma and torture. It's not like we have support and we have somebody who's like holding our hand and being there with us. And even if we did, the legal system is still not set up for survivors. So for me, always the first thing is getting safe, and then finding supports that we need. And that should actually be before getting safe. And then in the ways that we can, figuring out what we can do. And for me, it is educating about it. But sometimes the most we can do is just to get safe.